Okay, right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today's webinar is being recorded. Please can everyone ensure their video is switched off and that they only use first names when addressing others to ensure there's no identification of individuals after the session. We record webinars for a number of reasons: for internal training purposes, to provide to funders as part of our commitments to them, and so that trainees can watch these sessions in the future in order to support their career development where they have been unable to attend the live session. We store these videos on our secure internal Teams platform and as private YouTube videos, which cannot be accessed without our permission. We will store these videos for a maximum of 5 years. You will have the right to choose to leave the session at any stage if you do not wish to be recorded. If you do choose to leave, we will hold another unrecorded webinar to accommodate you wherever we can. If you have spoken during the session and wish the recording to be deleted, we will do so. Neither Microsoft Teams or Springboard store any information about you, including your IP address. For further information, please visit the news article Understanding Webinars on your Flow trading platform. That's us. Over to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Wolfgang. So welcome everyone, welcome this afternoon. Today we're going to have a presentation and a chat with Catrina Pengelley, also known as the Nerdy Hotelier. So Catrina's got a wealth of stories, of information and of tips and hints for you as you move into work and during your job search. So if you have any questions, as Wolfgang said, please put them in the chat function. We will probably save them till the end. We won't interrupt the presentation, but we'll have plenty of time for chat and questions at the end. So thanks for your attention. If we can all go on mute and put your cameras off, I'll now hand over to Catrina. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Isabel. Welcome, everyone. My name's Catrina, as she's mentioned, or the Nerdy Hotelier, which you'll find out a little bit more about later. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my career journey in hospitality, so you can learn a bit more about me, as well as to tell you about when I got made redundant and what I did to maximize my time out of work. And I hope that the tips and tricks that I have done, whether you go away with 5 of them or 1 of them, will be able to help you in your job search and for you to maximize your time while out of work. So to start off, as you may have heard from my wonderful voice, I do have a bit of an accent. I am from Vancouver, Canada. So if there's anything that I might say that might throw you off, I just decided to start off with a little bit of a legend. So if I say high school, I do mean senior school, resume, CV, serving, waitressing, tomato, you get the point. And as well, because I was made redundant, when I'm referring to my time out of work, I may say redundancy, but I do understand that quite a few of you guys have been out of work, not only because of redundancy or coronavirus, but for other reasons as well. So do just be aware of that. So to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey. So same as many of you, I started off my journey in high school or senior school, where I was coming to the end of my years there, and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I like to talk, I like to be loud, I like to run around, and so I had thought that the hospitality industry might be a good fit for me. I was lucky enough that my high school, like many of your colleges here, had a trade program, and I was able to train in the culinary department in partnerships with a local college. After I graduated high school, I went straight to the kitchen and started cooking in a restaurant, a local restaurant to Vancouver. And I really, really loved it. The fast-paced environment, the mess that I was technically allowed to make as part of my job, as well as putting out really amazing products for people to enjoy. The one thing, however, that I did miss was that interaction, the being able to talk to people. I would put food in the window, watch it be walked to a table, and want to run out myself and ask them how everything was tasting, how my food was, and how I could improve. So to be able to kind of join that interaction side of it, at the same time as working in a restaurant, I then went out and got a waitressing job at another local restaurant nearby. And I absolutely loved the front of house, being able to engage with people, to hear their experiences, to ensure that they had a memorable experience at my restaurant was really important to me. After I got more passionate in that side of the restaurant, I left the kitchen and learned all aspects of the front of house. So expediting, serving, hostessing, bartending, and even a little bit of floor management. After I did that for a few years, I decided that the restaurant or hospitality industry was where I wanted to be. So I decided to go to a local community college where I was then able to take a hospitality management program. The really cool thing about this program is it worked with both hotels and restaurants as a focus. So even though my aim at the time was restaurants, I also learned 50% of my time was learning about hotels. And within about 3 months, I think, of the program, I had fallen in love with hotels. I loved all the different aspects that you just wouldn't know if you weren't someone behind the desk or someone working at the hotel. The long back hallways, the fact that a hotel is almost double the size because half of it the guests don't even see, the fact that your hotel room isn't even decided until the moment you step in front of the front desk. Little things like that I just found so interesting and intriguing, and all of a sudden I was absolutely obsessed with hotels. I was lucky enough that this college had very good connections in the industry in Vancouver. And they held a lot of career fairs, interview practices, and such like that with professionals in the industry. And through a connection that I made at a career fair and then further in mock interviews with an HR manager for a local hotel, I was able to land a job at the Sutton Place Hotel, which was a historic 5-star hotel in Vancouver. And something that I'm sure you guys will find very interesting, being from Europe or from England in general, or the UK. Sorry, I understand that some of you are in Wales and far in between. This historic hotel that I worked at in Vancouver was actually built in 1986. So that really shows, how young of a city Vancouver was, and how cool it is for me now to be in England working with hotels and properties that are so much older than my country in general. But either way, I worked at the front desk there. I trained in housekeeping a little bit as well. And after working there for about 2 years while completing my diploma in hotel management, I decided that this was a career I was really going to want to keep and move forward with for the rest of my life. So I then moved cities and went to Royal Roads University, which had an international hotel management program. So I went there. I did 2 years of university and 9 months, which was a whirlwind, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree in international hotel management. Which was really great about this university, as well as my previous college, is that they were very well connected in the industry and really wanted to ensure that you would be able to get a job after completing the program. So through some interviews that I did directly with the university, I was able to get a job with Fairmont Hotels and Resorts in their leadership development program. For those of you that may know, Fairmont Hotels and Resorts was purchased by Accor, and they now call the program Aspire, in case that's something you're more familiar with. But it is the same program where I went into the food and beverage department at this hotel in the Rocky Mountains in Canada. And I spent my year and a half doing 6-month rotations through all aspects of food and beverage management at the property. So I started with the breakfast restaurant and the fine dining restaurant. Then I worked in the casual bar and lounge. And then I went to banqueting and events. And while I was in my last 6 months of banqueting events, for any of you that have worked in those roles before, it's a lot of work. It's really busy and the hours are really long. And when I was running around, hosting these conferences and hosting these parties as someone in the background, managing teams and ensuring everything was absolutely perfect, I would look at the sales team, who their role was to join these parties and join these conferences and wine and dine and drink and eat with the participants of the conference. And I thought, wow, that sounds like a good job to me. So after I left Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, and I decided that being in such an international industry, I wanted to be able to move somewhere else in the world. And realizing that because I only spoke English, I didn't actually have too many options. I opted to move to England, to London, and was able to find myself an entry-level role in a sales-based company called GP Associates. GP Associates represents luxury hotels all around the world. Over 90 hotels are in their collection and 8 within the UK. And all 5-star, beautiful, independently owned properties. So I was really, really lucky to land a job there. And so I started off in an entry-level role. Within a year, I got promoted to a sales executive. And that's when I was able to start wining and dining people and going to the hotels and eating and drinking, just like I wanted to as my dream job. And then as of February 2020, I was told that I would be promoted in a few months, or hopefully promoted in a few months, which would then allow me to have a full sales manager role where I would be doing my dream job for a living. As I'm sure some of you can see the direction that this is going, February 2020 turned into March 2020, and I was on furlough, which then turned into and by the end of June, I unfortunately been made redundant due to coronavirus. So, it was a really big hit. As I'm sure you all know, being out of work, it sucks. It definitely wasn't the positive, 3-month mark that I was looking for after that February information that I had received. However, I had decided that I wasn't just going to sit around and do nothing about it. So the things that I'm going to tell you about today, about how I maximized my time out of work, leads me to where I am now. One thing that I really, really strive to tell people is any job is a job. And I don't want you to forget that. When you're out of work right now, there might be, your dream job that you're waiting around for might not be available, but that doesn't mean there aren't jobs out there that you can do for the time being to help develop your skills. After all the work that I put in over the summer months since June, I now actually have 3 roles, which I'm very pleased about. I work for a tech company called Catrina, and I assist with their business engagement, marketing, and public relations on a part-time contractual basis. I also work part-time at a local pub called the Duke of Hamilton, where I'm still getting that, forward-facing, customer-facing role where I can share my energy and my experience in the industry. And then I've also set up as a freelancer where I'm assisting in online event production. So I'm consulting and doing events. So really a wealth of roles right now. I'm quite a busy person. But what I'm going to tell you that I did, I'm hoping that you'll be able to take these steps away and go back and hopefully for yourselves be able to land some roles that will be beneficial to your future. So the 5 key points that I'm going to talk to you about today, number 1 is going to be maximizing LinkedIn. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can build your network, how volunteering can be beneficial to your CV, how pro bono work and additional training is a great way to spend your time out of work, and a little bit about how you can develop yourself personally and create a personal brand, which will really help when people are looking at your LinkedIn or your online presence when you're applying for jobs. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is maximizing LinkedIn. I'm sure the guys at Springboard have told you that LinkedIn is a really amazing tool to connect with people and to really build a professional online presence. The first thing that I'm going to talk a little bit about on the left-hand side is your profile page. So obviously having a good headshot is really important. People can absolutely tell, especially in this day and age, when you have a selfie, and selfies just aren't professional. Even if you're going, if you don't really have any professional headshots, just ask a friend to take a photo of you. For example, this headshot that I have right now on screen, that little picture was taken while I was out on a walk out in the countryside with a friend, but I packed a blazer in my bag because I needed someone to take a headshot for me. So I straightened my hair in the morning, put some makeup on. When we showed up, we found a nice blank wall. She took a couple headshots for me, and then we went off on our walk. It's not that hard, but it is really, really important to ensure that you have a professional image representing yourself online. Next is your headline. So that part that's just under my name. This is really important because right now a lot of people, because it's the first thing that people see when they search for you, are putting that they're out of work and looking for opportunities. What I suggest instead is to capitalize on your skills. So mine states that I'm an experienced hotel and sales and events professional. I freelance in events. I also know a bit about project management and business engagement. And the reason why I have those key things up there is because when people are searching any of those words to look for people that might be potentials for their jobs, that is how they search for you. That is how you come up in their search. Your headline keywords are what's going to put you at the top of someone's search. So rather than saying you're out of work, no one's going to be searching for that. What they are going to be searching for is the skills or the jobs that they're looking to fill. So have a thought about that as well. I always suggest having a background image. It's not the most important, but even if it's just a picture of the city that you live in, my background used to be just a picture of London, just something that kind of shows that you put a little bit of thought and dedication into your LinkedIn profile. Mine currently says the Nerdy Hotelier, which I'll tell you a little bit about more after, because it's something that I've created for my personal branding and development. And so obviously I want to be able to shout that out to my network. And then for your page, just really ensuring that your CV matches your LinkedIn profile. Even if it's someone that ends up on your page hasn't seen your CV, why aren't you showing them your CV? You really got to ensure that what you're representing on your LinkedIn page is what you want hiring managers to see, whether you've applied for a job at their company or not. The next thing I'm going to talk about is that you should be ideally creating some online content for yourself. So whether it's something as simple as the picture in the bottom there where I had bought some new notebooks and I wanted to create a discussion on LinkedIn. So I asked my network, I said to people, how organized are you? This is how I organize myself. I would love to know how you organize yourself. And even just doing something as simple as that really created an online discussion and showed people that I was active and that I was interested in interacting with people in the industry. I only post something minimum once a week. Sometimes it's up to 3 or 4 because obviously you don't want to bombard your network, but showing people that you have a constant online presence where you're interested in talking about the things that you're passionate about is really important. And it could literally be about anything. I have a couple of people that I'm speaking to right now. They're passionate about sustainability. Well, then, if you see anything that really jumps out at you on LinkedIn, share it. Talk about why this is important to you. Talk about why you're passionate about this. If you see an article online or a picture on Instagram that really resonates with you, that is professional, share it. Talk about it. See what kind of engagement you get and use that to build your network. The next thing that I would like to say is if you are recently out of work, absolutely post to your network that you are currently out of work and you are looking for a new role. If you've been out of work for a long time, absolutely do it as well. But what you won't see in that post, which I've learned since doing that post back in June, is that what's really important, especially right now with everybody telling the world on LinkedIn that they have lost their jobs or have been made redundant, is telling people what you're looking for. So saying, I'm out of work, but I'm being positive about it. These are my key skills and these are the types of roles I'm looking for, but I'm open to do whatever. And put your contact details on there. That's a really good way to get your network involved in knowing what types of jobs you're looking for and what your skill set is. Another thing as well is after you do that, after you do any post that you think will be really beneficial to you, reach out to your network. So for example, this post that I did about my redundancy, I went through all 600 of my connections at the time, and I picked 150 people that I thought would be comfortable with me reaching out to them. And I copied the link to this post and I sent it to them and I said, if you have 2 seconds, would you mind please liking, commenting, or sharing this post for me to help it reach a broader network? And to show that worked, I went through all my LinkedIn posts, and ones that I didn't ask for interaction with, I would get on average 80 views for my posts. And as you can see at the bottom of this post about my redundancy, this post reached almost 5,000 people in 3 months, which is incredibly impressive. Those, I definitely don't know 5,000 people. So that means out of my connections of 600, maybe 600 people I knew, the other 4,000, 300 that are there, I didn't know. And so that's a really amazing way to ensure that you talking about the fact that you're looking for a role or something that you're posting that you're passionate about reaches a really wide network. The next thing I'm going to talk about is building your network to ensure that you're able to have a network that can support you. So there's obviously the more traditional ones like online networking sessions in the hospitality industry, webinars that are related to the current climate of the industry, or transferable skills or how to do your CV. Anytime that you're on one of those things, including through Springboard, these webinars that you're on, even with me, myself, connect with people on LinkedIn, connect with the Springboard team on LinkedIn, connect with all the people that you're currently going through this program with on LinkedIn, because you absolutely never know who's going to be able to help you find that role or know someone who knows someone that is the right fit for you. The other thing that I did is I looked for ways to connect with people. So at the bottom, I joined a LinkedIn group called the UK Event Professionals, redundancy due to coronavirus, nice long wordy name. But we have a coffee morning every Wednesday at 10 a.m. where we have guest speakers come in. So again, people to connect with. You meet other people in your industry. And again, we just talk about such simple things about how our week is going. If you're having a really bad week and you're really feeling down, that's okay. And you're able to tell people about it and make yourself understand that you're not the only one in this situation. Or if you're having a great week and something amazing's happened and you share it with them, everybody is excited for you. And it just helps you feel that little bit better about going through this time with other people. One of the other things that I did, the final thing on the slide, is I started following a podcast called Hospitality Meets with Phil Street. I highly suggest following this podcast and listening to the stories. Pretty much the podcast is by Phil Street, a hospitality recruiter, and he does an interview once a week with big wigs in the industry. So people that work for thecaterer.com, people that work for huge hotel chains, people that work in local pubs, anything like that. And he talks about their stories, asks them questions, kind of like I did at the beginning about how they got to where they are. And then, interesting things that they've experienced during their time in the hospitality industry. And after this, I have then added every single person on LinkedIn saying that I found them through this podcast. And I found this one thing that they mentioned really interesting. And the reason why I did that is if they do accept your connection, which I'm sure they will, is that you've now created a conversation. You said, oh, I really enjoyed when you were talking about this. And you can go back and forth. And all of a sudden, this person that you didn't know, you now have a personal rapport with. That may be able to help you find a role in the future. And I will say one of the things that I've done, and a couple of the roles that I was offered over the summer were through connections that I made with this podcast. So do keep that in mind. The next thing that you could be doing that is number one, a huge CV builder, a great way to shout out online about what you're doing, as well as just a really good way to keep yourself busy and show recruiters and hiring managers that you're not just someone that sits around and does nothing while out of work, is volunteering. Whether it's your local charity shop, whether it's joining a food bank or a rubbish collection group or anything like that, volunteering your time is really, really key and important. And then being able, to kill two birds with one stone, you've gone out and done something with your day. You've shown people how awesome of a person you are, but then you can also go out and shout that out to your network saying, look at what I've done. This is really important. And this is what I am doing while I'm out of work. And then when a hiring manager goes to your profile to see what you've been up to, they'll be able to see that you've been really active in the community, which is really great. And then a little bit of pro bono work and training. Now, when I mentioned before that any job is a good job, I do mean it. Even if you have the opportunity to get a little bit of training, in return, you have to do a job pro bono, or you're able to, someone asks you if you can, oh, sorry, I've hit a couple of slides here. Going back too far. Or if anybody asks you if you have some time and you can help support them, you do have the time. And that's an amazing way to give your time back. Again, something that you can shout out about, something that you can say that you've done in an interview that helps support someone else or helps support the industry. Back talking about the podcast with Phil Street, one of the gentlemen that I connected with owns a company called Experience 101, which is an experiential events company. And after talking to him for a little bit, he mentioned that he wanted to create a way to support the industry during coronavirus. So we thought of something that ended up being called Come Together or Hospitality Aid. So if you guys have heard of Live Aid, that big online music festival, we did the exact same thing for the hospitality industry. We reached out to pubs, restaurants, hotels, and said, hey, have you got any really cool talent on your team? Do you have dancers like the Pocket Bells in the bottom corner, show tune singers, a band, someone that can play really good music? We want them. And we put on a 4-hour online music festival where people could tip and support the person doing the act, as well as support Hospitality Action and donate half the proceeds to Hospitality Action. Actually, all the performers ended up donating their half to Hospitality Action as well, but we ended up raising thousands of pounds for the industry, and I was able to be a key part in that. There was 7 of us on the committee, and through those people that I met on that committee, I actually got offered 3 different job opportunities from the connections that I made there. Now, unfortunately, those job opportunities weren't the right fit for me. They were either in the wrong city or, unfortunately, something that I couldn't take on. But they were there, which is the really important thing that I want to get across. Is that time that I spent helping create this event for the industry ended up giving me amazing connections and possible job opportunities as well. I also was asked if I wanted to do a little bit of training in online event production. And the deal is that they would give me the training for free, but then in return, I had to help with a 1-week conference the week after the training and do that for free. And I thought to myself, you mean free training and then free hands-on experience after? Sounds fantastic. Why wouldn't I do that? But in the end, actually, the person that put on that conference that was called Lean Agile Global, they came back to me in August and offered me my part-time job at Actinio that I'm doing business engagement marketing and PR for. So in the end, that free training that I got also landed me a job. Not only that, but the free training that I got is now how I've been able to set up as a freelance online event producer. And I have now since then gotten 2 other paid jobs through the same people that asked me if I wanted to do the free training in the first place. So as I've said multiple times, and I will say again before the end of this presentation, any job is a good job because you never know where those connections, that experience, that training is going to take you. As well, if there's free support, free one-on-one mentoring, you guys are already doing the Springboard Digital Hospitality Academy, which is a fantastic way to get yourselves in the industry, knowing what the climate is and meeting people in the industry, which is obviously fantastic. But things like the redundancy support roadmap, they don't just talk about being redundant. They talk about being out of work. It's free CV training. It's free one-on-one mentoring. It's free peer support groups where you're able to talk to others in the industry and share your successes and your challenges and learn from each other. And honestly, I'm still a part of the redundancy support group because they're not throwing me out even though I have a job. And even on Wednesday, I had a one-on-one session with some training that was so beneficial to the role that I'm in now. So again, you want to be able to be as involved as possible to ensure that you're getting additional experience anywhere you can. And then the final point on this page for training and pro bono work is SIFT. I'm pretty sure the guys at Springboard would have mentioned SIFT to you before, but it's a really amazing agency that gives temp work. So, even if you can only get 1 shift a week, hey, that's 1 shift more than you had, and that's some money in your pocket, and that's what's really important. So do look into things like that as well. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is personal development and branding. So this is where the nerdy hotelier comes in. I had always thought to myself that I wanted to be able to start a blog where I could talk about all the things I was nerdy about in hotels. To give you a bit of background context, the reason why I'm nerdy is when I walk past a beautiful hotel in London, I have to walk in the door. I have to go see what it looks like. I'm the type of person where I'm like, ooh, look at this marble pillar, or oh my gosh, what a beautiful wooden staircase. My poor boyfriend's like, okay, come on, let's move on. But I love stuff like that. I get really excited about these old, beautiful, historic hotels in this country. And I wanted to be able to shout out about how awesome I thought they were. And so with the one-on-one session with the redundancy support roadmap, she said, well, why don't you start a blog? And I was like, oh, I've never actually thought about going around and doing it. But now that I've done it, I've now done my 5th post, only 5 since August, but hey, I'm working on it. And again, you can see that on the left-hand side, the post that I did sharing that I have done this blog, I then reached out to, I think this time it was only about 50 people saying that, can you share a comment on this? And it reached almost 3,000 people. After writing this blog, I had almost 15 more connection requests requests from other people in the industry who just wanted to be a part of my network. And as well, since then, I've created this online personal brand, which you can now see the colors and you know, the design of my presentation actually matches this blog that I've created. I've also created myself some business cards so that if I was meeting people, I had something to hand them. I did it on Vistaprint. It cost me £15 to make my own customized business cards, and I got 250 of them, so well worth it. They don't say anything specific. They just say that I work in hospitality, and it's another way just to get yourself out there and reach to a wider network. And it doesn't have to be a blog. If writing's not your thing, what about filming a video about stuff that you know? Something that I'll be releasing shortly on LinkedIn, because I've been doing so many online events on Zoom, is 10 things I bet you didn't know about holding a Zoom conference. Something as simple as that. It took me, well, a long time to record it because I'm not very good at recording myself. But you know, this 5-minute video that I'm going to share is going to be really beneficial to the industry. And again, just show people online what you're capable of and how you care and want to be active in the industry and not just sit around and be doing nothing. So think about that. What are you passionate about? What could you create online? What could you do? Is it a YouTube channel? Is it a blog? Is it just posting on LinkedIn a couple times a week about what you're passionate about? Is it an online community? Do you have a group of friends that work in the same industry where you maybe want to start a focus group and see where that goes? There's so many different things that you could be doing to develop yourself and brand yourself so that when you are one of the 200, maybe 500 people applying for a role, if you get past that first stage of screening your CVs and they go online to see who you are as a person, this is what comes up and they go, oh, this person really truly cares. And that's what I'm trying to get across here. So my final note, which again, as I've said, I've mentioned a few times, is that any job is a good job. Anything that you could be doing right now to better yourself, to grow your skills, to gain more experience in or out of the industry is important. If, you know, even if you're really passionate about hospitality, but you get offered a job doing cold calling for a tech company, do it. Why not? It's something that's going to put money in your pocket, and it's not saying that you don't have to come back to the industry. You're just taking a foot out for a second to gain more skills in a different area. And one thing that I'll leave you on just to think about as well is just a little story about what happened when my boyfriend and I both became redundant at the same time. He was made redundant from being a chef, and within 5 days, he had gotten himself a part-time job at Tesco just to ensure that there was money coming in. It was a part-time job, luckily ended up being with fairly full-time hours, but he did that for 3 months. And when he was applying for his next job, there was a lot of people applying for the role, but he succeeded in getting the job. And in talking to his manager a couple of months later, one of the things that his manager mentioned is, well, I saw that you got made redundant, and then I saw that you went out and you got yourself a job, something that you weren't comfortable doing, something that was definitely different from your experience, but you went out and you proved that you were someone who wasn't just going to sit around and wait for opportunities. And that is how I knew that you would be someone who would care about this role and put all your effort in. So do keep that in mind as well. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that after this, you would go and add me on LinkedIn, because as I've been shouting out, I want you to build your network and I want to build my own network. There's a link to my blog in the feature section of my LinkedIn page, but of course, that's the blog there as well. If you would like to email me at any point to ask me questions, or if you want just a one-on-one power session where I run you through things that I think you should be doing, or if you want some help on your LinkedIn page, feel free to reach out for me. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to give you guys the time because what I want for you is to succeed in getting a job. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much for your time, and I will pass it back over to Isabel to see if there's any questions for anyone.
Thank you very much, Catrina. That is absolutely inspirational. Thanks for all your time there. Absolutely amazing tips about putting yourself out there. And yes, as usual, really high energy, which we all like. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to stop the recording just now, I think, so we can have a wee bit more informal chat with questions. And then I'll put some questions out to the floor. Thanks very much.